Hello. Welcome back to the channel. It's Motions Biz here. And again, thank you for tuning in. Now, today I have something really exciting to share with you. And I figured this out based on my experience as well with Navy Federal. But first and foremost, don't go away because this can be one of the greatest hacks on how to get the maximum $80,000 credit limit with Navy Federal in less than a year. And I have something to show you that is quite interesting. And it's just a matter of really thinking about the math and how to do it and how to work your relationship with Navy Federal. But before we get started, welcome to our new subscribers. I really appreciate you for being here and for supporting the channel, and especially to those who have been here ever since when this channel only had about 200 subscribers and I was doing PowerPoint videos. But anyway, what I will share with you is just a process or a hack, if you call it, wherein you can possibly get the maximum of $58,000 with Navy Federal in only 4 months. And I know that it's kind of crazy to think about it, but it is really possible. And based on what really happened with me on my Navy Federal journey, this is so possible with Navy Federal. And I think Navy Federal is really one of those credit unions out there that can make this happen. And I will show you how you can do that by just simply monitoring your timelines with Navy Federal. And let me show you what I did to really figure out how to do this and what can possibly happen in the ideal situations, of course. But it will give you an idea on how you can also manage your Navy Federal timelines to make sure that you don't lose on the time and the opportunity of building up that credit limit all the way to $80,000 and the maximum 3 credit cards with Navy Federal. Here's what I did just today, okay? A very simple cheat sheet, okay? But I will show you what I did here that made me figure out how you can do those things with Navy Federal. And I would say that I really owe it to our community members because as you send me questions and messages asking about how to do this and what can be done and questions related to Navy Federal, it made me think of things that I can also share, and it is also based on my experience and things that can really happen with Navy Federal if you really work it. Now, with this little system that I would show you, how would you like it if within 7 months you can actually reach the maximum credit limit allowed by Navy Federal on all 3 credit cards? Now, if you fall under the category a bit, within a year, you can still meet all that as long as you do your relationship building with Navy Federal and also really optimizing your personal profile. Also, really making an effort to build up your internal credit score because that is the key. So we will talk about 2 things here. How you can reach that $58,000 credit limit with Navy Federal in only 4 months. 4 months. That's it. And how within 7 months you can potentially even max out or reach the $80,000 credit limit with Navy Federal. And it is very possible just by being very vigilant with your timelines. So at the end, I will also share with you how you can actually make your own timeline. So every time you have an activity with Navy Federal, is to write that down on a calendar, on a notebook or whatever, and then place dates ahead of time. So it will remind you and you won't miss out on the few days or the few months that you would have been able to ask for a credit limit increase or ask for a new credit card with Navy Federal. And that is the key to this hack. Let's get a few things out of the way first. And this is especially for those who are new to Navy Federal and for those who are not familiar with the Navy Federal credit card procedures and the credit limit increase process with Navy Federal. So just remember that you can ask for a credit card with Navy Federal once you have been a member for at least 90 days, okay? 91 days, okay? Approximately 3 months, because that's what happened with me. I think I was approved for an initial credit card even for less than 90 days. So once you got to be a member of Navy Federal during that 90 days that you are waiting for that first credit card ever, make sure that you already start your gardening. What I would advise is make that direct deposit immediately, as much as possible, as soon as possible. It does not have to be the whole amount, it can just be a partial amount. But do that. That is a big thing with Navy Federal and is really a big factor to build your internal credit score. Direct deposit, open a Savefirst account and an easy certificate account. This is also I'm basing this on how I got started with Navy Federal. At least you already have two of those products that you have done with Navy Federal. Now, within that 3 months also that you are waiting to apply for a credit card, do a pledge loan. And I know that you can do that pretty easy. You can even do it with only $250, okay? But just do that, okay? We will not talk about the pledge loan here because I have always discussed that in my other videos. But 4 things, remember, okay, for this to work and for you to have a better chance of getting the maximum credit card limit that Navy Federal would give you for the first time, and that is $25,000, and the credit limit increase max that Navy Federal will give you at a given time is $8,000. So keep those 2 things in mind because they would matter very much to the math that we are about to do. And there is a reason why I mentioned the pledge loan, because we are also trying to improve your personal credit profile within that 3 months to also optimize your potential to get approved for a credit card with Navy Federal once you qualify to apply for the credit card. You may ask, why direct deposit? Remember, we are also trying to build your internal score with Navy Federal. We already know that Navy Federal has their own system of credit scoring, and the direct deposit is a big aspect of building up your internal credit score. And remember, before we apply for that first credit card ever, you are already trying to improve both your personal credit profile and your Navy Federal profile as well to give this a better chance. And that's basically what I did with mine. This is how I did based on my journey with Navy Federal as well. Let's presume that you have been a member of Navy Federal for 3 months. You did your direct deposit, you did your pledge loan, you opened a Savefirst account and an easy certificate account. So now you are ready to apply for your first ever credit card with Navy Federal. Now, remember, when you do that, make sure that you do the pre-qualification tool with Navy Federal to see if you qualified, okay? But let's presume that you already have a very decent personal credit profile and you have done the gardening with Navy Federal and made use of the 3 months that you were with them, banking with them, making deposits, doing transactions on your Navy Federal account. Then once you applied for that credit card, for the first ever credit card, let's presume again that you got approved for $25,000, okay? Now that was what happened with me with my Cash Rewards credit card. That was my first credit card ever. That was for $25,000. So let's put that there. Now, let us presume that you applied for the credit card January 1st, okay? Now there are 31 days in January, and then February would be about 28 days. March is 31 days. April is again 30 days, okay? Now, once you have that credit card, you got approved for $25K. Remember, for the first credit limit increase, it would be 91 days or more, right? So you write that down in your notebook, what date you applied for that credit card and what date you got approved for, okay? Once you write that down, you count 91 or 92 days, 93 days after that, and then make sure that you put it down that on that date, you will ask, or you will do 2 things. You will do a credit limit increase and you will apply for a new credit card, okay? Now, that usually, if we would count your approval date of January 1st, or the first of the year, by April 3rd, you would have done this on that date to make sure that you are already on that 91st or that 92nd date, okay? So on April 3, you ask for a CLI, credit limit increase, and apply for another credit card. They don't have to be on the same day. What happened with me was I think I waited about another day or two before I applied for another credit card, but it is close to that date, okay? So you did two things. And let's just say that you got lucky. You got approved for your second credit card. For me, it was the flagship credit card, which I was approved for 25,000, and then ask for a credit limit increase. And let's say you were approved for $8,000 for that credit limit increase. Now, just on this date, you had two things: 25,000 credit card and 8,000 credit limit increase. Now, remember, that is already 33,000 right there. Now, you add that to your initial credit card, which was for 25,000, and that brings you to $58,000 on only the fourth month after you have asked or you got approved for that first credit card ever with Navy Federal. See what happens in another 3 months as long as you monitor your activity with Navy Federal. So another 3 months from April, okay? So now remember that you applied on April 3rd for the CLI and the credit card, let's presume, okay? Now, for that second card that you asked for, you count 91 days again, okay? That would go all the way through July. Okay, you can actually check that on your calendar. So let's say card number 2 is due for a credit limit increase by July 4th. Okay, I just added a few days to make sure that you don't miss out on those dates. Now, by July, you're going to do two things again. Okay, you can apply for another credit card, which Navy Federal allows you to have 3 credit cards. You apply for another credit card for your third credit card, and you ask for a credit limit increase for your second credit card. Okay, let's presume that's the flagship. And then your third credit card might be the More Rewards credit card, or whichever your credit card is. So again, by July, and that is about another 3 months since your last increase, you can do two things again. Now, by this time, if you have a really good credit, you have a good, you continued your gardening and your relationship building with Navy Federal, and if you have a very decent personal credit profile, you would have maxed out that 80K already by this time. Let's just presume that you got approved for that credit card again for 25,000, but during this time, because if you add 25,000 to your existing 58, that will bring you to 83,000. So now, of course, Navy Federal will not give you the maximum 25K at that time, or whichever you applied for, the credit limit increase or the third credit card. Let's just say you have a really good profile. They will adjust that, either the credit limit increase or your credit card limit, to make sure that you cap at $80,000. And guess what? We actually have a community member who thought he got away with it at $83,000 because he did get approved for the max 25,000 again. So he was at $83,000, but then later on, he shared that it was a bummer because Navy Federal did shave off that 3K from his credit limit. And this really happened. He is a member of our community at this time. Now, you might say that, this is an ideal situation, but members have already enjoyed this. And in fact, it also happened to me. And that was the reason why I did not ask for an additional credit card with Navy Federal. I only have 2 of their credit cards, the Cash Rewards credit card and the More Rewards credit card, because I'm already at $73,000. So if I would ask for another credit card, I am sure they would cap me either at 8K or give me a credit limit increase, but I did not go ahead with that. But we have community members who have done that. How about if, for those folks who do not get the maximum credit limit increases or the maximum credit card limits that Navy Federal would give to members. Okay, remember, there is more 3 months and 3 months and 6 months that is ongoing. If you write those dates down for each of your credit card, when you ask for a credit limit increase and then mark the next date, the 6 month, the 182nd days, that it will fall on for you to ask another credit limit increase or ask for another credit card, it will really help you get to the maximum $80,000 with Navy Federal. And that's only if also you qualify, okay? But if you keep working on your profile, your personal credit profile, and your internal credit score with Navy Federal, it can really happen that for many of you who already have the 3 credit cards, then write down the dates when you ask for a credit limit increase and always count for that 6 months that you can ask for another one, okay? There's no harm in trying. I don't know what your situation is, but continue to ask for that credit limit increase. But write down those dates when you ask them, or write down the dates when you got your credit card. And just by doing that, you are able to monitor and keep track for when it is time for you again to ask for a credit limit increase. Because with Navy Federal, there is no limit to how many times you can ask for a credit limit increase, okay? Now, as long as you meet the timelines, that is 91 days for a first credit card and every 6 months or 180 days, or just make sure it's either 182 days or 183 days. Just write them down or put it on your calendar and do a reminder or an alarm when it's time to do that, and keep trying. And also do not forget to do the pre-qualification every time you need to apply for a credit card. But for the credit limit increase, definitely it is a soft pull if you use the Navy Federal app, okay? There is no guarantee that it will only be a soft pull, but in general, when you do it on the app, it is safest to do it on the app, so you only get a soft pull. And yes, you may incur hard pulls from those credit cards that you did. Another question or thought that may come up is that, okay, but I will get another hard pull on my credit report every time I apply for a credit card, okay? This is a matter of a personal decision. You know your situation better. You know how many hard pulls you have on your profile. But when I did these credit cards, I had about 6 to 7 hard pulls. I think maybe 6 or 7 by the time I did the personal loan with Navy Federal and the Cash Rewards credit card. But it was mostly from Navy Federal. So again, it just depends on how you want to handle your credit cards with Navy Federal. By just monitoring your timelines with Navy Federal on when you applied for a credit limit increase or when you applied for a new credit card, and take note of that, it can help you get to the point wherein you can really take advantage of the Navy Federal credit limit increases and the opportunity to have 3 credit cards with them, and just keep building that. It's funny how I really just kind of thought about this, because I got approved in Navy Federal for 2 of their credit cards of the max limit that they would give for an initial credit card, and that was for $25K each. And I also got the credit limit increases for $8,000 each. So it is really very possible if you have a good profile, but you can also pretty much really build that personal credit profile and internal credit score with Navy Federal. I am just sharing the possibilities and what can happen if you really just take time to keep track of when you applied for those credit cards and when you did things with Navy Federal, and the possibilities of what can happen, because it's Navy Federal and they have all these benefits for their members. I am very aware that life happens. We get so busy and we forget what we have. Navy Federal credit cards sitting in our wallet. Make a note for yourself. You can even do this right on your phone calendar to remind you. and to ping you whenever it is time for you to do a credit limit increase or ask for another credit card. Count the days manually. That will be so much easier so you don't miss out on those days. So just a thought. I really appreciate you being here, checking out the videos and sharing your thoughts. Again, this is Motions Biz. Until next time.